podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Welcome to No Question About That. This is a Tactics Pod with Dharnish and Daniel. How's it going, chaps?
Tremendous.
Fuming. Absolutely fuming, yeah.
Fuming.
Raging, actually, yeah. I mean, I did a rewatch just then, and I didn't realise how bad things were.
I haven't done a rewatch, and I agree with your first impression that I could name probably 10 post-Fergie derbies that I thought were fucking miles worse than that. Like the two Moyes ones before we've even started were miles worse than that. And that one, it was obviously bad, but it didn't exactly feel like a 3-0 game, and it didn't feel that there was no point during the game where I thought United could win, even though there was loads wrong with it that we're obviously going to go into in a minute. In terms of derby kickings post-Fergie, this was one of the best or worst, depending on how you want to look at it, I thought.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting because United created absolutely nothing for an hour, and then as City sat back, had a bunch of chances at the end. I mean, the United's XG is like 0-0-0-0 up until Kobe comes on. Coincidentally, or maybe not coincidentally, United then started.
And also,
chances.
when he comes on, Bruno moves forward.
Yeah.
Crucially,
And
yeah.
I knew when we had the injuries, I knew that the thing that he wasn't going to do was move Bruno forward because he's stubborn and he's decided that in this system, Bruno is that.
Well, he's a progression monster. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to go through a few things today. So we're going to go through United's attempted build-up. We'll talk a little bit about City's press, what that did to United. Ruben's, I'm going to say, strategy, philosophy for attacking, which I think is you can spend another 200 million on new attackers and won't change how United create chances, I don't think. How game state changed the game and so on. So where should we start? Shall we start with United's flat back 5 versus City's build-up? This was fun, wasn't it? I think as soon as we saw the formation, I knew what it was going to look like.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem for the first half, I mean, I don't know. I've ran through about 60, 70 minutes, and I don't really feel like watching the last 20.
It's the best bit. I mean, the game's dead by then, but
I mean, I haven't even got to the Haaland chance when he hits the post and the Reinders one-on-one chance. And honestly, it could have been 4 or 5. I know United could have scored 3 themselves, but it could have been worse. The biggest problem that I want to highlight is just that it's a god-awful setup in midfield. God-awful. I don't know what he was thinking. So City have 4 at the back. Or sometimes they have 3 at the back.
3 with 1 fullback inverted, yeah.
3 with 1 fullback inverted, or sometimes Rodri is part of the 3 and they push fullback up, or Reinders is one of the back 3 and they push fullback up. What happens is the front 3 of Buemo, Diallo, and Šeško, none of them are pressing. He's instructed them to not press, which means that City have 3 spare players in the middle, and you only have Fernandes and Ugarte marking them. Sometimes what will happen is the centre-back will push up to mark the spare player, which is, okay, fantastic, lovely, great. But that's a problem because City are like, oh, nice, I'm just going to move forward 10 yards with the ball now because you have to stay where you are. Basically, if the centre-back jumps up and marks the spare player in the middle, where another midfielder should be, it means he has to stay there. He cannot jump and get forward to get the ball. Sometimes they press and sometimes it worked because City are in this weird state where they're actually not that good, I feel.
They were there for the taking yesterday.
They were. I think that's another problem. But whenever they pressed and got the ball, we'll come on to it later. Man United were also just really porous and really bad in terms of the final third. But that was a huge, huge problem. And then secondly, when this was we're talking about when City had it in deep build-up in defence themselves. When City were in Man United's half, there's this weird 5-4-1 low block where it's like 5 of them are in midfield with the fullbacks behind them. And there's gaps. There's gaps in between. Watch that first goal again, guys. It's ridiculous. Doku literally stands 6 yards away from Rodri and he just smashes it through. I can't believe that, okay, he set him up that way and it's not compact. It's not compact and it doesn't really make any sense.
I agree with what you said about the pinning. Once you pin the wide centre back, and literally that involves almost nothing. The wide centre back then can't jump, and to make that extra man in midfield. And the problem in any event with 3-4-3, right? 3-4-3 in itself, like systemically, I don't personally like it because I feel it leaves you undermanned in wide areas and it leaves you undermanned in the middle. Whereas at least 3-5-2, you might have 2-on-2 versus the opposition centre backs, your attackers, and you won't be undermanned in the middle either. You have three versus three in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But so then there's the 3-4-2-1, whatever you want to call it, 3-4-3, whatever. But also then that's sort of, if we call that attack tactics, but then there's also the strategy, which is Amorim's particular interpretation of how you play this, which is why, for example, we see Chelsea won the league with it, or Palace are doing quite well with it as well. And that's not because of the system, that's the strategy.
Or his philosophy, as he'd call it. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, we've done how many of these pods talking about Amorim's system now? I think it took us a little while. We looked at Sporting. Was he going to transfer it over? It feels to me like he's really only transferred two parts over. One is the wide build-up, which is the intent to get overloads in wide areas, so you can create those triangles and get the cutbacks. United actually almost scored twice from that move, right late in the game though, in the last 10 minutes. Or it's what I think people call the up, back and through. So basically a long ball up front to then lay it off and win second balls, which didn't work at all for United. And they tried it against Arsenal on the opening day of the season, didn't work against Saliba.
So on the wide thing, on the building wide, this is one of the many things I don't get about this interpretation of the system, is that you want to build wide, but you don't have any overloads in wide areas. So how can you do it?
Well, because he wants the switch of play all the time. So I think that's one of his problems, one of many that he has with Kobe Mainu, is he wants the long switch of play to,
and that's why Bruno's there, because Bruno could do it. But I'm actually just reading my notes there, and I've written the system needs the wide set, the wing back to create and building wide, but the system denies wide overloads. Your fucking mum. It's actually what I've written in my notes.
Your fucking mum.
Yeah, as in me talking to the manager. It just doesn't make sense. And so I've got a question as well then. Look at all the players in the squad. Which of them does this system get the best out of?
Yeah, very few, if any. Yeah.
If any.
Yeah. Maybe
we could hide De Ligt and Maguire in a three-man centre-back division, or whatever you want to call those dickheads. But yeah, it feels to me like it doesn't get the best out of anyone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just saw that, and it exposes the worst in some players, because in that first goal, I mean, obviously Shaw just gets roasted by Doku. That can happen, I guess. Shaw used to be a good one-on-one defender, maybe not anymore. But Bruno, you're asking Bruno to scan and look at players running on his blind side, a defensive instinct that he just simply doesn't have.
Why is Doku there?
Well, to pin one of the centre-backs.
No, he's making the extra man in midfield, so she's turning their 3v2 into a 4v2.
Yeah.
And our two don't want to play. Like, Bruno doesn't want to play there, shouldn't play there, has never played there, really, apart from under Amorim and a little bit under Ten Hag. And Ugarte's fucking rubbish, and we know it. And he keeps, at the same time, it's just, you've got this stuff, and you know it all doesn't work. And we don't know for sure that Mainu doesn't work, because he hasn't let him have a go yet. But it is really the only thing that he hasn't tried yet is that. And you won't do it. And yeah, your fucking mum is really what I've got to say here.
Just with everything, I think.
Because I thought City deliberately let United have it in those wide areas, which you would think is counterintuitive, isn't it? Because you'd think that is how United try and build up. Why let them have their strength? But they didn't allow any of United's back three to progress through central areas, right? So they starved Bruno and Ugarte of the ball. I mean, you'd say whether that's a good thing or not, and just let Mazraoui and Dorgu have it all of the time. Man for man press, and then let them have it. Dorgu had 12 entries into the opposition box. Bruno had 0, and I think that was like all tactical, because he just let him have it there because he does nothing with it.
And he gets so much of the ball, the wing-backs in
So
the
much of
system.
the ball.
And if you've got wing-backs that are defenders, what's the point? Like, what did he expect Dorgu to do? Because we've seen enough of this guy now. We know what he is. And it kind of pisses me off, actually, the crossing, because to me, crossing, that's a repeatable skill. You can stand there by yourself after training and practice putting crosses in. I don't know if this is true, as in this is what he's done, but I look at Declan Rice as a player who lacks a little bit to play in midfield. So what has he done? He's got really fucking good at dead balls and crossing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
How do we think he has done that?
Probably by repeating it. Yeah, Gary Neville did the same thing as well. The only thing Gary Neville has repeated more than crossing is moaning about United on Monday Night Football. So he's expert at both of them. But it's true. I mean, he was not a good attacking fullback early in his career, Gary Neville. He was basically a centre-back that got pushed out there because he wasn't tall enough, and then repeated it until the point that he was actually a good crosser of the ball by the time he ended his career. And so, yeah, Dorgu does need to... That is the weakest part of his game, isn't it? Is the final third piece. If he's going to have that much of the ball, because he's a great athlete, and he's quick, and he's willing, and he does some of the defensive stuff right, but the attacking third stuff is rubbish.
On that point, actually, about the Dorgu, not just Dorgu, this is the first time, actually, I felt like physically we got City here. In the first half an hour, thought that physically United were stronger than City, stronger and faster. And this is something that probably has changed under Amorim. So he noticed, I mean, you'd have to be a blind man with a paper bag over your head not to notice, but that physically United were weak and slow. And I do feel like that's been addressed, that we're not getting out-muscled and outrunning quite the same way. So that's good. But it doesn't make any difference, because even when in that phase of the game, I thought we had quite a lot of the ball, getting the ball into dangerous areas. As Dharnish said before, we'd see some nice football down the sides, but ultimately, when it comes to the key moment, the key action, I guess we have to call it these days, we don't know what to do. What kind of goal are we trying to score?
It wasn't just him. I know that he got a lot of flack, but it was everybody. It was
Agree.
I remember an instance in the first half where it was a lovely, again, those byline exchanges are really nice. They get through tight areas really well. They bait like 3 or 4 City players into one section. What we saw in pre-season, when Bomo got it down the touchline, it's a bad cross. Or Dorgu finally produces a good cross, Ahmad decides to do half a bicycle kick, half an overhead kick. I mean, okay, fine. Like it was a difficult chance, but trap it first and then shoot. But it's just so... You have problems without the ball and City are manipulating you in that sense. Then when you go up the pitch, it's also not working as well. You get in each other's way. The other thing as well, and I think that this is the beginning of the end, I feel. It just is, because when you're doing certain things to combat what the other team is doing and it's not working, and you're persisting with it, constantly persisting with it, and you're saying in press conferences, I'm not changing, bruh. I'm not changing. I'm dying on this hill, and we can all see it's going to shit. I'm sorry. It's the beginning of the end, because there was another particular instance where it's like, okay, if we press the way I've just explained earlier in the podcast, the centre-backs have to push up regardless of who it is there. But it's Erling Haaland. There was one particular instance I saw. They threw it down the touchline to Erling Haaland. Luke Shaw is the centre-back, was the left centre-back. He has to push up on him. You're not going to outmuscle Erling Haaland. You're not. Undertaker wouldn't. Big Show wouldn't. So why are we getting Luke Shaw to do it? It doesn't make any sense.
At which point, the personnel, because you mentioned Ahmad before, and one of the things we've talked about is the 10s that he's chosen. Cunha and Bumo are different abilities. One wants to go long, one wants to come deep and get on the ball. Quite like that mix of abilities. But Ahmad and Bumo kind of really sort of trying to do the same thing, and they didn't give us that kind of variety. So I felt like the team that he picked was wrong in that aspect. But also, Luke Shaw versus Dorgu at left wing back. Maybe they're saying Shaw is too susceptible to injury, but which of those two would you want to get the ball in a wide left area and have to deliver
for sure, yeah,
or run with it? It's not fucking close. And it's not like we don't have other centre-backs. I mean, I wouldn't play Maguire, but we could play Heaven as a wide centre-back. Like, presumably that was, they bought him in order to do that. If he hadn't got injured when he did, he'd probably have played 20 games for United by now, and we'd be and if he's good, then he'd be an automatic choice. We don't know, obviously. But Luke Shaw at left centre-back, like, he can do it, but we have other centre-backs, and he's much better at, if we're saying that this left wing-back has to be like the fulcrum of the attack almost, we can't have, like, Luke Shaw should be there, not him. And also it felt like just the whole team, like they picked yesterday, just didn't seem that, even if we look at his tactical idea, what he's trying to do, Mazraoui can't cover the length of the pitch. So him at right wing back, what are you saying? We're not going to attack down that side?
Pretty much. Just basically get it long to Mbumo, basically.
And then, it just none of that team really made sense.
Mm-hmm. It did not, and I think we saw with 14 minutes into Napoli's game, the kind of service that Højlund would have thrived on. Like, into
he made
the
a
channel.
run also, in fact.
Made a run, and but the kind of service that Sesko got, I think, once, and he had a bad touch, right? A ball into the channel, and it was a bad touch. He kind of lost the opportunity there.
It's quite hard in fairness when you're playing football on stilts.
Well, yeah, he's got to grow into his body, hasn't he? But yeah, it is worrying that you spend 60-odd million on a new striker and it's the same old service, which is basically quite direct, or you're hoping to get the overloads in wide areas for the cutback and so on, and neither of these strategies are really working.
Why does every recipe I try need 18 ingredients, including a jar of something paste I'll never use again, but will sit in my fridge for 9 months? I just want dinner in the oven, fast. That's why I love Blue Apron's new one-pan assemble and bake meals. They send you fresh ingredients that are already chopped. All you do is put it all together and bake. That's it. No chopping, no weird leftovers, just delicious, easy-to-make meals. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
I mean, do you think he said in the aftermath, I'm not changing anything? And everyone keeps asking about the formation. It was like 4 questions in a row from the press after the game. He keeps saying it's not about formation, it's about philosophy. I think when he says philosophy, what he means are the rules, where you have to be and at what moment. Yeah, the principles. Yeah, that he means. And he's not as focused on the formation, but what the formation does is all the things that we've talked about, right? It exposes the weaknesses of some of our key players. It has changed our 2 best players' positions from last season. Like, one's in central midfield, one's on the bench yesterday at left wing, which was odd for Ahmad. I'm not sure he's ever played there before. It allows United to have encourages United to have the ball in these wide wing back areas in which we're quite weak. I think it's fair to say. So he won't compromise on that formation or his principles. And so what changes, right? You can't buy a new player now.
And that can't be the only solution. Because then we're saying we need a specific player for every position, right? But then you're saying, really, you need 22, because what happens if they get injured?
Yeah.
I think also people are criticising him for, like, they know he always plays that formation, he always does the same thing. That's not a problem. Pep Guardiola, how many years did he play 4-3-3 for? Jurgen Klopp plays 4-3-3. It's that what you're going to do is shit. It's not. Yeah. It's not. There are problems with 3-4-2-1, but it's not. It's not the fact that everyone knows what you're going to do. Like, you watch Arteta's Arsenal, the same thing. I forget. Most teams do. They have automatisms. They have strategy. They have ways to get but what you do isn't good. And it's the fact that it isn't good that means teams are able to exploit it, not the fact that they know what it's going to be. Because everyone knows more or less what everyone's going to do almost all the time. It's very rare you watch a game and you go, well, that's a shock. I didn't think that Tottenham would suddenly play 7 at the back or whatever, because no one does it. It's just this particular interpretation of this system has massive holes that everyone knows about. It's not the system itself.
I think that's totally fair. And if you had 11 perfect Amorim players of high quality, then we'd see something very different. And it does feel like the margins of error with his particular interpretation of this particular formation are very, very small, right? There's just almost none. And so it leaves you thinking, well, the only way to fix this then is to, as Dan said, buy 22 players of the quality he wants, which is, I don't know about you guys, would we trust him with another 300 or 400 million pounds worth of spend that the club might not have anyway, right? In order to, and what's it missing? It's missing 2 high quality wing backs, 2 physical monsters in midfield. I mean, Amorim said it, right? In that whole piece he said before the game where he was asked about Kobbie Mainoo 3 or 4 times in a row. Right? They list it on the Man United website. The transcript is quite interesting. Go read it as well as the video as well, where he's talking about you have to cover a lot of space in my system. He knows it, right? He knows that's why he wanted Baleba or other physical players.
And they're not playing Rio Ave.
Yeah, exactly. There's very few weak teams, or relative to Portugal at least, and so I don't see a light at this end of the tunnel, right? Because the tactics are not changing, formation's not changing, his principles are not changing, and so the only thing he can do is mess around with players' positions, and he won't do that either.
I just hope that it's going to get better. Somehow there'll be a penny drop moment where everyone suddenly understands, and it's just maybe they do understand already. I don't know, and even just
I think they might understand that it's not going to work. And
you would think
we'll get some of those performances in. But the thing is, I think a lot of people fairly have said, hey, how can you account for individual errors, right? But I think some of those individual errors are part of the system, right? They're exacerbated by the way the system is.
But it's not. And I would say that's, I think that was happening more at the start. That's absolutely fine. You were ironing that out. You don't really get much time as a manager anyway. Like, nobody will say anything to you if you win. That's absolutely fine. I think that was happening more at the start. What we're seeing more now this season is teams just know how to combat the system and they know exactly how to manipulate it. And he just won't change anything, even though the results are in front of him. I know people tell me as well, like, oh, what if we signed a midfielder? What if we did this? I don't think this is a problem where if we have better midfielders in that position, it gets better. It doesn't. It just doesn't. It's also not an issue where if you sign 3 players that are 50 million plus or 100 million plus, I don't think I really trust this manager now to embed the players in this new system to get better, because on top of what happened last season, I knew this was going to happen, but because of last season, patience is just so thin now. The records are tumbling. The losses are piling up. I think partly last season was a little bit unfair on him, I would say. We've been through it multiple times on this podcast, mid-season, Christmas. He's a philosophy man. He's a philosophy man. He doesn't have his players. But by the time he's got his players now, and even if it does get better, game week 8, game week 9, even if it gets gradually better, patience is just so thin now, because nobody has the patience with this many losses, and nobody has the patience when you're so stubborn. It's not the first manager that's done this. Postecoglou suffered from this. Maurizio Sarri suffered from this. If you're a philosophy guy in the Premier League and you don't adapt, you don't do simple tweaks, you're going to suffer from it, especially
Ten Hag. We saw it with Ten Hag. But what actually this period reminds me of, is it reminds me now quite a lot of the end of Mourinho, who I would have personally fired a long time before they did. But that was one of those situations for different reasons, where I thought, as soon as you get a new guy, this will get better. Because there were good fucking players in that squad. We had Pogba, we had Bruno, we had Rashford, we had Greenwood, players who at the time were good.
This is a good squad.
It wasn't. I wouldn't go as far as saying it still had that glaring hole in midfield, but it felt like the manager could not have been getting less out of the players. And that's what it feels now again. It's not possible. It's literally, if you were the manager, if me or you were the manager of United, any of us, then would they have fewer than, is it 4 points we got after this run?
4 points, and it's 31 in 31 Premier League games. Yeah, we wouldn't know if you just sent them out there and said, lads, sort it out yourself.
Just go and play.
Sunday League, just
You'd
go
still
play.
Expect yourselves to beat Burnley and get at least 1 point out of the rest. It's not, beat Grimsby as well. We'd still be, I promise you, if I was the manager, we'd still be in that cup.
I love that. Yeah. One of the One of the other things, and this is not a tactical point, but it's because he keeps getting asked about it, is he's quite open with individual players and his commentary on them. And obviously it's been Kobbie Mainoo this season that has been the question on everyone's lips. So, two things here. Why is he being so open about, I know we know the answer and why he doesn't want Kobbie in there because of the profile of player that he actually wants in midfield. But I don't think he's helping himself giving these honest answers. He obviously pissed the player off because the player turned around and said, I want out.
Yeah.
Fairly quickly. And then, since we're on that topic, what difference did Mainoo make when he came on? Because he very different player, right? He picked the ball up, he beat two players, he carried it forward 30 yards. He completed 100% of his passes, all of his tackles, all of his interceptions, right? I think he made 2 chances as well. So it was a very good cameo, but not what Amorim wants from a central midfielder, right? You suddenly had ball carrying in the centre of midfield rather than long progressive passes. So
charging about like a lummox.
Do we see a role in which that he will go, okay, I'll change this up because it's not working?
I still don't. I don't want to be that guy, because when managers get like this for Man United, we start getting on absolutely every little thing that they do. And we say, this is bad, this is awful, this is awful. But this is just one thing I flat out do not understand. This guy has come out and said, I need my midfielders to work in tight spaces. Am I wrong? He said that, right? He did.
Did he? I thought he likes big spaces.
Yeah.
He wants them to cover. He wants them to cover big spaces.
He wants them to cover big spaces, but I'm talking about in attack, right? When Man United made chances in the derby, it was through those little nice exchanges where you had 3 or 4 players compact in one zone. Yes. That's Mainoo.
Yes.
Mainoo does that.
Yes, but he does that centrally, not wide.
Sure, but like he would be good in those.
Maybe he's the wing back we didn't know we needed.
Sure, but like
it will
be
be
good in
interesting
those.
to see what we do against Chelsea with the 11, because it feels like he's not that far away from getting fired. And he has sort of suggested that he'd rather get fired than compromise this, whatever the fuck we're going to call it.
Well, there's probably about 10 million reasons why he'd like to get fired as well. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. He said, I won't change. I'll have to change the man before I change. But will he make any little...
But will he play Mainoo and Bruno in midfield in the next game, say?
I don't think he will, because he very specifically talked to me about Mainoo not really being able to play number 6 the way he wants, right? Because that was when he was talking about covering large spaces.
We know that Casemiro can't, and we know that Ugarte can't.
I would say he would start. You should start Casemiro.
He'll start Casemiro, and Casemiro playing that restricted role, yeah.
I still think that's another thing that I don't understand. Add it to the list. Casemiro's been great this season. Go look at when he's been substituted in the games. When he's come off, they've been a lot worse.
Chaotic.
Against Fulham, it collapsed when he came off. So I think he should play a Casemiro. He'll probably play Fernandes again. Just going back to the Mainoo thing as well. If you play him in midfield, you can start pushing Bruno Fernandes up as well. Cunha's injured now. Put Diallo at right wing back. Yesterday, the spaces were that big switch to Mbeumo and then the overlap from Mazraoui. But I was like, but it's Mazraoui. I want Diallo on the overlap. All right, fine. Mbeumo and Diallo's their partnership, they need to figure it out. But who would you rather have in space in City's half up the pitch? Diallo.
While we're talking about Mazraoui, can we talk about a really important tactical point? Has he had hair plugs in? What's going on with the Barnet? Like, why is it all gone really short, but with little things? He's had hair plugs done.
I think he's had a hair job.
He's had a hair job.
Do you think he's had
a hair transplant? Yeah, they've plucked the pubes out or from his arse or whatever, and they've stuck it in his head. I think that's what's going on there. Yeah,
fair enough.
On the point about Ahmad and Bruno, and I feel like if you played mainly, because in the next game, I think Cunha will probably be fit, because before the derby, Amorim said, didn't he, that Cunha would have said he was fit to play this week.
Right.
Which suggests there's a good chance he's fit next week. But, part of me also thinks that, and I know this would be ridiculous because that's not why we bought him, but I actually think that Cunha is potentially a better fit for where Bruno plays than Bruno.
In midfield, you mean? Or like up as one of the left or right tens?
No.
Central midfield and put
in central midfield, just because I think that I think that he's physical and he can carry the ball.
He can carry the ball, but that he wants that ball carrying in forward areas. That's one.
No, I don't want him. I don't want him
isn't
there.
it?
Yeah, the shit and shite. Like I think that he is. I think that he might be. Yeah, his profile might be better suited to that position than Bruno's. But
Yeah,
it's just
I
how
have no
dare
idea
you,
about his defensive work, but
You've got by any metric, Bruno's the best creator in world football,
yeah.
and he doesn't create. He's not allowed.
No, 0 box entries.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's wild to see him.
Mrs.
Like,
Amorim should be allowing 0 box entries, I think, until he sorts his shit out.
Until he changes. Yeah. Well, exactly.
Some of the passes that he made from deep yesterday, you go, "Oh, that's absolutely lovely, yeah." And then there's like nobody up
Because
in
he
the
can't give it
box
to
or-
himself.
Oh, there's you can't have 3 Brunos in the team, but it's not even like he's playing that badly in that position with all the traits that he has. He's just kind of hamstrung. It's weird.
Deary me. So
Really?
none of this worked. Yeah. So United's build-up didn't work. United's wide play and combinations didn't work. Some nice and bueno and Bumo moments. Central midfield doesn't work. We weren't able to figure out how to counter City's man-for-man press. The only thing that worked was when City had already won the game, sat back happily, the game state changed, and United threw everyone forward. And we created 2 good chances, but it all went the other end because Haaland scored once and Reinders should have scored, and so on and so on and so on. So it's pretty dark, I have to say. So when do we think he's getting fired? After Chelsea or after Liverpool? Or they're gonna string it along until the next international break?
Next international break. I'm taking. I'll give you 2-1 odds. Next international break. Win.
Yeah, I forget what the game is before the next. It's Spurs just after that international.
I feel like
break,
we say this every November international break is sack managers.
November international break. Yeah,
I mean,
it's our favourite time to sack managers.
Yeah,
If you're going to be they keep talking about we're ruthless. We're ruthless.
they have been quite. I mean, they're really ruthless with Hoyland. I mean, I know it was partly because
That was very ruthless.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I'm not just saying this because he scored. I didn't particularly like that move. I think you need options. That's it. I didn't like that move at all, selling the Hoyland. I mean, part of me was like, yeah, you can't be that shit and be Man United centre forward. I can't say that there wasn't like a little bit proper football man in me that was like, yeah, fuck off. But not really, because I know we've seen that there is some ability in that guy, and you need to have several strikers.
Yeah.
But I swear we're like the most toxic ex ever, because we've sat on this pod multiple times saying Hoyland is the problem, and now he's gone. Oh, baby, come back. It's
well, it's not so much about Hoyland. It's about the fact that we have one senior striker in the squad. And he has never played for the club before and never played in England. And he's 22 years old himself, and he doesn't half look like we're making the same mistake all over again. And it's not really great squad building to end up in a situation where you have one striker.
And I think
and
we've always caveated what.
I don't count him as a striker.
Yeah, I guess.
We've always caveated what we said about Hoyland as well, that we can see that you watch a video of his goals for United and you're saying this guy's a player. Like, it's very obvious that there's something there. And I also feel like he's got quite a good attitude at Hoyland as well. But we had to sell him because we needed money.
Yep. All right. Well, I guess that's it for this week. There, we'll see you after United's 0, Chelsea 2. Next weekend.
I mean, Chelsea is shit now.
How can you spend £1 billion in 4 years and produce that 11 that they had on the pitch at the weekend?
They sell a lot of players quickly, though. Like
they sell a lot of players.
They sell a lot of players quickly. So anyway, Garnacho's scoring a brace next week. So
yeah, I don't want that for 2 reasons. One is obviously because it means United are losing, but also I think he would be unbearably smug if that happens.
Is he going to do a celebration or not?
Yeah, of course he will.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No, it's shush.
Yeah, you think it'll be that way? It'll be a shush. It will be. Yeah. Cup the ears and then shush.
Get right in Amorim's face.
Oh, dearie me. All right, thanks, chaps. Yeah, to be honest, I'd be tempted if I was. Cobby had one shot near the end. I was like, if I was him, I'd run to the manager, point at the back, get you fired quite quickly by this manager, but also would have been fun. All right. Thank you, Dharnish. Thank you, Daniel. We'll see you all next week.
Oh,
thank you.